this morning to the 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader, our ongoing class. Today's topic is going to be relationships. We're still a little early, which means we have time for a poll. I'm going to launch that poll, and as people are checking in, that should pop up on their screen as well. Remember, our chat is always open during these sessions, and so you're welcome to make chat comments as well. And today's intro poll: do you agree that your relationships will determine your level of success? Yes, no, or other in chat. Well, we have one in the other for one and happiness. Relationships will determine your level of success and happiness, I think is what they've added on. Thank you for that chat comment. Please weigh in on this poll as you're checking in and as we prepare to launch today's class. Thank you for sticking with us. We have over 190 people registered for this program. Since people have kind of started going back to work, we're still having about 50 or 60 logging in live, and 30 or so that seem to watch the videos online, realizing maybe not every topic is of much interest to people, so maybe they pick and choose. When this is all said and done, we're moving these videos and this class to a Canvas format, and we'll continue offering it into the future. We're still working out those details and trying to work out an arrangement to offer some CEU credits for people that complete the whole course through Canvas. So that's something to look forward to, and that we are excited to be able to offer to people in the future through our leadership programs. That way, this doesn't just, it's the benefit of people who attend now, and it's a benefit in the future as well. And that's the exciting part of it for us. Still having some log in, so we'll give just another minute to people as they log in to take our poll. Do you agree that your relationships will determine your level of success? Or as someone added, success and happiness? I would just leave my question as determine your level of success. See, most people that have logged in have already taken that poll, so I'm going to share that. Amy, it looks like there's a lot of interest in this topic today. Looks like an overwhelming number agree that relationships will determine your level of success. Well, that's probably why it's included in Maxwell's 21 Indispensable Qualities. I'm going to introduce our speaker and then hand it off to her. Dr. Amy Patillo is with University of Missouri Extension. She lives in Aurora, but she works out of the Greene County Extension office, and she is great to work with. She's a workforce development specialist. She really works statewide. It's an innovative program that Extension has launched a year or so ago. She's doing great work in that area. Amy's professional or educational background: she has a bachelor's and a master's in communication sciences and disorders from Missouri State University, a master's in educational administration from Missouri State, and also a specialist and doctorate in educational administration and leadership from St. Louis University. So Amy, we are glad to have you today. I'll take down the poll, and it's all yours.
Thank you, David. I appreciate the nice introduction. And it's nice to know that we will not disappoint John Maxwell this morning, because we do believe that success is relationships are extremely important to success. And we're going to start off with another poll this morning. And it's a mood barometer. We'll see if David has my poll. There it is. So for the mood barometer, this is our first poll. On a scale of 1 to 5, how are you feeling today? A 1 is, I already want to take a nap tomorrow. 2, I'm either going out for ice cream or to commit a felony. I'll decide in the car. 3, it depends. My mood depends on how my hair looks. Number 4, the fight isn't over yet. And number 5, no words are amazing enough to describe how fantastic I feel. Our mood has a lot to do with our relationships and how we interact with one another.
Amy, I know polls and the answers can be difficult to come up with, but this certainly makes your personality shine through.
Thank you. So I gauged my mood barometer off my own moods for the last week. And I got up every day and decided, how do I feel? And some days I already wanted to take a nap tomorrow. Other days I thought, I'll decide later on how I feel based on how the next, meeting or the next interaction goes. And so I'm happy to see with the mood barometer that our largest percentage, 41%, says the fight isn't over yet. And that positive outlook is really important. There's 24% that say no words are amazing enough to describe how fantastic I feel. However, 21% of our group said they're going to decide in the car on the way to get ice cream. So that's fantastic. Now, I'd like to start off by entering into chat. I'm sorry, say it again. Say it again, David.
Well, 21% it was either ice cream or a felony.
Yeah. And there's some days that are just like that. You don't know until you decide on how the next meeting's going, how that trip down the hallway when you interact with your colleagues is going to go. We're going to decide on the way there. And so in chat, I'd like you to share one word about what rejuvenates you. If you're having one of those days when you feel like you already want to take a nap tomorrow, or you're going to decide if you're going to get ice cream or commit a felony in the car, what rejuvenates you? Exercise, Patricia Barrett. I'm going to spend more time with Patricia because I need more exercise. Gratefulness, talking with a friend, a walk in the park, sunshine. Oh, I love it, John. Checking cows with kids. Fresh air. Melody says my grandson, and that's really true. Some of us are rejuvenated by spending time with our closest friends and family members. Working in my garden, Maggie. Positive interactions. Positivity is absolutely extremely important, Brenda. Grandkids or margaritas, Stephanie. I think she could be on to something. A nap or prayer time, it depends, and sunshine. I'm surprised that Otis didn't show up in there. A good belly laugh. I agree, I enjoy laughing. I am thankful and grateful that I work with a great group of people and we laugh a lot. Completion, Valerie, Jesus, and walking in nature. So those are all ways that we rejuvenate ourselves. Some people get their energy from engaging with others, while others get their energy from time spent in solitary or spending time with close friends and family. But it's really important that we understand how to build those relationships. In this session, John Maxwell shares his insights on relationships. He says, good relationships are the foundation for achievement, which we all know that because the majority of us said that it's important for our success. Relationships are more than just the icing on the cake in life. They are the cake. They are the very substance that we need to live successful and fulfilling lives. Maxwell says, I think this is very important. He says, never let the situation mean more than the relationship. And when I think back on my career and my relationships, this is more true in hindsight than sometimes it is in the present, that never let the situation mean more than the relationship. It is more rewarding to resolve a situation than it is to dissolve a relationship. Whenever we experience a rough time in a relationship, we need to remind ourselves of why that relationship is significant to us in the first place, and investing that time in repairing our relationships. We all live in a generation of Pacos. And if you had the chance to read chapter 15 in Maxwell's book, You would know who Paco is, but I'm not going to let you get away with not meeting Paco this morning. We live in a generation of Pacos, people who have been hurt, they're suffering, and they need love. I think we could all agree that our world has a love deficit. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Humanity longs for genuine love and acceptance. Mother Teresa once said, "There is more hunger in the world for love and acceptance than for bread." The world is full of people seeking love, love of their father, love of their children, love of their partners, love of their friends, love of someone. And in Maxwell's chapter on relationships, he shares Ernest Hemingway's story. It's The Capital of the World, in which a father was desperately looking for his runaway son who wanted to be a bullfighter in Madrid, Spain. And that part of the story was left out. But the reason why Paco had run away was because he wanted to be a bullfighter in Madrid, Spain. And back in the times when this was written, that was a suicide mission. The father in the story put out an ad in the newspaper offering his son Paco love and forgiveness with an invitation to meet him Tuesday in front of the Hotel Montana. And the next day at noon, there were 800 young men named Paco waiting for their fathers and waiting for forgiveness that they never thought was possible. The takeaway here is never underestimate the power of relationships on someone's life. Maxwell teaches that leadership is influence. It's nothing more and nothing less. Relationships and relating to people is how to increase influence over others. I like the way that Maxwell started out his chapter. People don't go along with you if they can't get along with you. Relationships are the foundation of leadership, and that's so true. If you don't get along with people and you don't enjoy their company and their presence, there's no way that they're going to follow you, that they're going to respect you as a leader. So I think that's a powerful statement, that people won't go along with you if they can't get along with you. All right, it's time for our second poll. If age is only a state of mind, tell me which category best describes your state of mind right now. Are you a cheeky child? Are you a tormented teenager? A mad midlifer? Or a groovy grandparent? I'm a cheeky child.
Probably a mad midlifer for me, but we're just about to hit 90% of voters, and here we go. Share those results.
Oh no, this webinar this morning may be disastrous because only 13% of our people want to be a cheeky child with me, and I'm taking you down a childhood memory next. So we have 6% that's a tormented teenager. I think that's good. Mad midlifer, 39%, and our groovy grandparents will not be left out this morning. For all those cheeky children, I hope you grew up watching Mr. Rogers. For all those groovy grandparents, don't let your grandchildren miss out on getting to know Mr. Rogers. Most of us know who Mr. Rogers is. Even if you did not have the opportunity to grow up watching him as a child, the one thing I remember word for word from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it seems like he said it every single episode: "I like you just the way you are." Mr. Rogers reminded us that while no one is perfect, it's our individual imperfections that make each one of us so special. So if Mr. Rogers was here with us this morning, this is what he would tell you. "I'm just so proud of all of you. And I know it's tough some days to look with hope and confidence on the months and years ahead. But I would like to tell you what I often told you when you were much younger. I like you just the way you are. Those are extremely powerful words in relationships. Relationships are strong because we do accept each other for who we are, and we embrace those imperfections, and we understand that that is why that's what makes us so special. So Mr. Rogers was a powerful person in my life, and I'm going to ask David to put up the third poll, and we're going to see just how well you know Mr. Rogers. So look at these choices and tell me which one of these is not something that Mr. Rogers said. And these were all things that Mr. Rogers would have said at one point on his Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood show. So did Mr. Rogers say, play is really the work of childhood? Did he say, how sad it is that we give up on people who are just like us? Did he say, every time I tie my shoes, I think of you? Or the last one, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
Amy, people are still weighing in. And of course, as a host, I can't vote, but I have to confess, I know who Mr. Rogers is. I've seen clips. I never watched an episode.
Oh, you're missing out, David.
This probably explains a lot about me psychologically and work-wise, the fact that I never watched Mr. Rogers. Now you know.
Yeah, I would have thought that you were channeling Mr. Rogers every day at work. I would not have known that you've never watched him. So it's worth your time, if you have not been a lifelong fan of Mr. Rogers, for you to go on YouTube and watch the Mr. Rogers. Okay, so how well do we know Mr. Rogers? Let's see. Oh, how sad is it that we give up on the people who are just like us? That got the largest vote. So the answer is C. Every time I tie my shoes, I think of you. He did not say that, but I tricked you because that was one of Mr. Rogers' big things on his show. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he enters and he gets out his shoes, he changes into his tennis shoes, and as he's sitting there tying his tennis shoes, he always has this wonderful, enlightening welcome to his show. And then at the end, as he's taking off his shoes and tying his shoes, that's when he says, I like you just the way you are. And he has such sincerity in his voice. But the true answer is, Mr. Rogers never said, every time I tie my shoes, I think of you. But in my case, every time I tie my shoes, maybe not every time, but a lot of times I think about Mr. Rogers saying that. Thanks, David. So now Mr. Rogers is someone who knew how to relate to others. If you go back and you watch some of his shows from some of his sessions or whatever they are, you would be able to see now as an adult how he has these perspectives that of equality and love and kindness and neighborliness. And I have to say, I bet that 800 people would show up to see Mr. Rogers in front of the Hotel Montana. They probably wouldn't show up to see me, but man, we'd all show up to see Mr. Rogers. So when individuals relate, they influence one another and they have an impact on another person's life. Relationships are the glue that holds people together. Relationships don't happen automatically. We have to make deposits and build relationships with one another. You know that. You know that relationships are not intentional. That's not true. I said it wrong. You know that relationships are intentional and that they don't happen by accident. A leader understands that the value of relationships because they know that leadership is influence. If you want to be a good leader, Maxwell says that it starts with relationships. Having good relationships with people is essential. When you connect with someone on a one-on-one level, you begin to have influence and lead them. The best leaders love the people they lead. And so that statement I've really thought about for the last 2 weeks when I started preparing this presentation. If I think about great leaders that I've worked with, would I agree that they love the people they lead? Based on their actions, what they say, what they do, their advice to you, their care and concern, would I believe that the best leaders that I work with love the people they lead? I'd have to say yes. So we know that relationships are the foundation of you becoming a better leader. So in the chat, give me one word that you would say best describes the past month for you. One word that describes the past month for you. So let's watch these as they're coming in. Frustrating, stressful, different, challenging, full, roller coaster, peaceful, anxious, surprising, lonely, flexibility, usual, or not usual, unusual, Della, unusual. No, that was, it's going so fast, I can't keep track of it. That was Stormy that said unusual. Difficult, crazy, peaceful, Paula, she and I are soul sisters, peaceful. Roller coaster, it's been a learning experience. Discombobulated. Bob is over it. I think he might be channeling a bit of my personality too. Unknown, emotional roller coaster, grateful, learning, eye-opening, frantic. Susan said she's not sure how to spell it. So next, I want you to share with me, in the past month, what has been a win for you? So we had a lot of concern and just that it's been difficult and frustrating over the past month. But in that past month, put in chat for me what you have won at. What has been a win for you over the past month? Adjusting to working from home, Joanna. Stacy, it is going so fast, I can't even keep up with it. Stacy, promotion in my online business. Learning to garden, learning new things, learning Zoom, family time, professional development, teamwork, online training. Oh, Stephanie, preparing for retirement, healthy decisions, more family time, connecting with students. So the point here is that even though it's a difficult and stressful time, it's unusual and we've had to adjust, we do have wins. All of us at some point in this last month has been able to identify a win for us. So it's important. People want to be successful, and our job as a leader is to help them win. Everybody wants to win, yet lots of people do not win on a consistent basis. As a result of that, their self-image goes down, their confidence goes down, and things that they could do, they don't do. Things that they want to become, they don't become. No one wants to continually lose their way to success. You cannot do that. People have to get wins under their belt and get confidence. So one more story before we finish up. David and Goliath. Everyone knows who David and Goliath is. If you look at the Old Testament example of David, he's known for someone that has confidence. He killed Goliath in a battle. And David is known as a giant slayer. Everybody knows about David killing Goliath. And David was referred to as a young man, a youth, when he killed Goliath. What isn't discussed is the wins that David had under his belt that prepared him to battle a giant. David's oldest brother is referred to as being physically impressive and of large stature. Most likely, David was too. David was called a mighty man of valor, a man of war, prior to fighting Goliath. So before he fought Goliath, he already had wins under his belt. David had rescued his father's sheep from the mouth of a lion and had already killed a bear and a lion by hand. King Saul was a large man, and prior to going into battle with Goliath, he offered his armor to David for the battle, and David rejected it. Not because King Saul's armor was too large. King Saul was known as one of the tallest men in the land. David rejected the armor because he wasn't used to wearing that kind of armor. Finally, additional evidence suggests that David was a strong man and that he was prepared to battle Goliath. David was said to later wield Goliath's sword, which was said to be very large and heavy, with Goliath possibly standing up to 9'9" tall. This is an example of David having wins under his belt. He was known for being a shepherd and saving sheep by killing both the bear and the lion by hand. These wins for David led him to the next step, killing Goliath. Success is about taking the next step, seeing success, and then taking several more steps until you're known as a giant slayer. This isn't a big deal to you because you are winning for a period of time. To others, it's a big deal, and people recognize your growing successes. This is our chance to lead. It's our chance to love people, to help people, and to help people get wins under their belt, to improve their self-confidence, to make people more secure and bolder, and someday they too will be a giant slayer. Thanks for being with MU Extension today. We'll stick around for comments in the chat and follow-ups.
Amy, thank you for that today. You know, lots to think about. Let me toss out a question that people may want to respond to in chat or may elicit additional conversation as well. As we've read about this topic of relationship and how important it is, what will we do to build healthy relationships? Have you set a goal? Do you have some action markers? What are some things you're going to do to help build healthy relationships? And Amy, you can weigh in on this too, if you'd like. What's something you're going to do to help build healthy relationships? Listen, listen, listen. Yes, being a good listener harkens back to one of our previous discussions, but that's a big factor. Reaching out to others, compassion. You know, when we've been sheltering in place and in our homes, this has been a good opportunity to practice connecting with our immediate neighbors, getting to know their names, listening, practicing our relationship development with them. It takes time to build relationships. You have to be intentional to build that. See some saying, consider others, approach from a position to grow the other person. I see others as a 10, believe in others. Yeah, that's a great John Maxwell quote too. He always says he imagines a 10 being above everyone's head, so he treats them in that way. That's a powerful tool when trying to build relationships. Helping people get wins, putting other people's needs before my own, all valuable ways to help build relationships. How to win friends and influence enemies. Have any of you ever read that old classic book? Gosh, that's probably a 50-year-old book by now. But lots of great topics in there about how people, they want to be listened to. They want to know that you're genuinely interested in them. And we're seeing that in some of these other chapters. You know, people talk about meeting someone and then leaving the meeting feeling so good about that person as a leader, but realizing the leader never talked about themselves. They talked about the person, you know, in front of them. That's a powerful part of building relationships too. It is so vitally important. Amy, you did a great job covering the topic today, and lots of comments here in the chat. I'll leave the floor open in case you have anything else or there's any other questions.
Thank you, David. I appreciate everyone joining today, and I had an experience this morning that was fun, and it reminded me, I see that Pam Dutzman is on here this morning, and if you've ever been in a meeting with Pam, at the end of the meeting, I would bet money every single time that Pam's going to say thank you The information was really great. I appreciate it. She's always so grateful and thoughtful. And at the end of the meeting this morning, I'm used to seeing Pam say those nice things, but Bob Schwartz was on the call with me. And at the end of the meeting, before we got off, Bob raised his hands into the air and he said, "I feel so good." He said, "I don't know why I feel good. I don't know if I feel good because we had a productive meeting or if it was just the company." And so that is such a nice way at the end of the meeting. We're so professional sometimes that we forget to raise those hands and just compliment and congratulate people on the work that we do.
It is okay to have fun at work, isn't it?
It is.
I think so. I'll brag on a business that I saw yesterday, I think. And, I saw some video online, actually, from a church, Ridgecrest Baptist Church. They had put together packets, I think, for moms, sort of take-home kits. I think they were doing something with Mother's Day, but also things that you could do at home with your kids. And they had people driving through an overhang and handing those to people in their cars, and staff was out there cheering people on and making noise and having they were having a lot of fun with it. And obviously, I think that fun would be contagious. And although maybe we don't do drive-throughs at our places of work, we could probably do a better job of being excited about what we do and cheering people on and saying, glad you're here. That excitement is contagious. All right, well, great presentation on relationships. And our next session, which will be, what are we up to now? Chapter 16 is responsibility. Dr. John David Cummins from the University of Missouri will be teaching that session. He grew up, in fact, he's online with us today. So good to see you, Dr. Cummins. We'll look forward to hearing from you on Monday.